How do you fill the shoes of the king of the universe? This was the question for Cambyses, the eldest surviving son of Cyrus, king of Anshan, Shah of Persia. Cambyses' father had built the largest empire the world had ever seen during a career spanning 30 years, and his job was to continue his father's legacy. We have no idea how old Cambyses was when he rose to the throne, but we do know that he was already an adult by the time Cyrus died, and had prior experience as an administrator. He ascended to the throne of the Persian Empire with no resistance, which probably says something about how respected Cyrus and his bloodline were. Cambyses inherited an empire in its expansion phase. He had been a supporter of his father Cyrus's campaigns of expansion, and he sought to continue these conquests beyond the current Persian borders, as Cyrus had already conquered Lydia, Babylon, and other centers of civilization. Cambyses turned his eyes to the next viable target, Egypt. I might make a video just about some ancient Egyptian topic because Egypt's history is fascinating. At this point in history, 530 B.C.E., Egypt was being ruled by its 26th dynasty, and the pyramids were 2,000 years old. An independent Egyptian civilization had existed on and off for the last 3,000 years, and Cambyses was about to put an end to that. Cambyses made preparations for the campaign up until the year 526, when he marched his army into Egypt. Apparently, he made an alliance with the local Arab tribes, who supplied his army on its march through the Sinai Desert. He had also created a Persian navy, contracting the Phoenicians of Tyre and other cities to man the ships and dominate the seas. With Persian forces closing in on all sides, the Egyptians were forced to fight a last-stand battle. The Persians came out victorious, routing the Egyptian army. Cambyses marched on Memphis, the Egyptian capital, capturing it in mid-525. In doing so, Cambyses ended 3,000 years of independent Egyptian civilization, incorporating yet another territory into the realms of the Persian Empire. Cambyses' conduct in Egypt has been the subject of intense historical scrutiny. Reportedly, he completely disregarded Egyptian religious customs and traditions, looting and desecrating temples. Herodotus reports that he killed the sacred Apis bull, the ultimate symbol of disrespect to the Egyptian culture. Except he probably didn't. There is archaeological evidence that an Apis bull died during Cambyses' reign, but that Cambyses actually dedicated a funeral to the bull in accordance with traditional funeral honors. There is other evidence that Cambyses was very diligent in his role as ruler of Egypt, helping maintain the existing temples. Like all previous rulers of Egypt, Cambyses took the title of pharaoh and respected the culture and history of the ancient civilization. Even though he ended the independence of Egyptian civilization, he continued Egypt's traditions and its history as the new pharaoh, and after him, future kings of Persia would also hold the title Pharaoh of Egypt. Cambyses has generally suffered from a great deal of historical slander. Herodotus says that the Persians thought of him as a tyrant probably because he centralized the authority of the king around himself at the expense of the old Persian nobles. In regards to administration, however, he continued the policy of Cyrus, which was to leave the local governments to their own devices. In Egypt, for example, the nobles were allowed to maintain their power and status, which mostly served to guard against revolts. The evidence indicates that the accounts of Cambyses' life are likely biased. He was probably a similar ruler to his father, continuing in the traditions of conquest and empire building first established by Cyrus. In this way, for the short time that he reigned, Cambyses was a worthy successor to the line of Persian kings. After a few years spent dealing with administration and religion in Egypt, Cambyses received news of a revolt back in Persia. He departed for Persia in 522 B.C.E. Before he made it home, though, he received a wound that became infected with gangrene. This wound caused his death a few weeks later. He had reigned for just 8 years. Cambyses had no children, meaning that the throne passed to his younger brother, Bardia. Or maybe not. Maybe Bardia was sus.
Darius